Hey, welcome to today's webinar or workshop on dad, lawyer, or parent and how to win at both. Now, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. My name is Steve Riley. I'm one of the coaches at Atticus, and I've not only practiced, I've coached, but most importantly, for those of you that are watching this, I've been very delightfully married for 30 years and raised two spectacular kids. And some of the things that people always ask me is like, how did you win at building a great practice? And how did you win at, staying married and raising great kids? And, all joking aside, it was work. And so what I'm going to do is suggest that you do a little work with me, and you'll see on the screen this little worksheet that's included in the presentation called Learning to Action. So just download this, take some notes. There might be some ideas that you can work with. Now, from our viewpoint, or my viewpoint as a company, our company is called Atticus, and we help lawyers build great practices and have great lives. And that's really the core of this, is because really what you're trying to do as a father, you're trying to make sure that you balance being a fantastic lawyer and a fantastic father. And that's easier said than done when you have just tremendous demands on both. So you feel squeezed at both. So I'm going to go through what we call a strategic concept to think about it. And then I'm going to go through at least 3 strategies to help you think about being a better dad. Now, obviously, this can work for moms or dads, but this particular workshop was designed or is designed for fathers. So what I'd like you to do before we start and get too far in this is just write what is the most important thing you want out of the workshop. Write it down on a piece of paper or write it on the worksheet that I just provided you. But write what is the most important thing I want out of the workshop, because I want you to have that in your mind as we go through this. Now, here, from my viewpoint, is in the coaching I've done with other lawyers, coaching I've done with moms and dads, coaching I've done myself, is really thinking about this from a big picture. You're really trying to juggle 3 boulders. The first one is parenting. How am I going to raise kids? And whether you're raising them under the same roof, or you're, in different roofs, whatever way it looks like for you. And in some cases, you may be parenting your parent. It doesn't show up on this slide because it got whited out, but where are you parenting a parent? And this is where I've been at in my life, where I've been raising my kids and taking care of my parents. And, my mom had Alzheimer's, my dad's now 90, he's got some physical challenges, one could argue mental challenges. And so that you're kind of squeezed, and that's a lot of stress. 2 is partnering, being in a committed relationship, whether that married or what have you, but you're in a committed relationship with somebody, you're trying to make it work. And then practicing expectations abound everywhere. There's like no limit to what you can do or should be doing as a practitioner, whether it's doing it better, doing it more, there's always demand. So what I try and do is tell people to kind of think of it this way. And if you're listening to this, I've got a diagram, it's probably better to watch it. And I usually say you've got 3 incredible boulders, and you can't really juggle all 3. What you have to do is narrow your scope of focus, and you have to decide, how do you cultivate harmony between these 3 things? And so you can't be perfect at all 3. You can't consume all 3, but you can narrow your focus to be really good on parts of them. And that's really what I recommend. You don't try and do everything. You just do the things that are highest impact. What are your highest impact activities as a lawyer? What are your highest impact activities as a parent? And what are your highest impact activities in your partnering relationships? And anything that's not in those, you either delegate or don't do. So when we work with this, I want you to think about it's cultivating harmony. Now, cultivation for me is learning a skill. Think of it like cultivating crops or a garden, or you're tending and you're caring for it. You're really trying to work at trying to take care of it. And you're always, as a master gardener or a master artist or a master lawyer, learning to improve your skills. And harmony for me is a balance state. Like you're learning to balance the different roles. So you're learning how to do this. You'll never be at a point of stasis. I always joke with my wife. I said, we don't have to be years ahead of the kids. We just have to be about a week to 90 days ahead of the kids, just that far ahead. So when you look at this, you're trying to cultivate a balance in your life and practice. Now, some things will happen. A trial will pop up, a hearing, an emergency, one of the kids will get sick, something will happen with a parent. There's some things will happen that will throw you out of balance, but your goal is to get back into balance as quickly as possible. And you're never going to be perfect. You just got to get that clear. You're just going to be cultivating a good balance between 3 high impact activities at all times. And what I want you to do is not to confuse efficiency here, but think about effectiveness. Efficiency is really when you're trying to be really, you're maximizing your time, you're maximizing your effort, you're trying to be efficient with it. Effectiveness is what I'm after. And effectiveness is choosing the right thing well, and efficiency is doing the right thing well. So choosing and doing are different things. So in this case, it's your great life, not your most efficient life. So I'm going to recommend that you think about this from the perspective of where can I effectively choose to have high impact and be great at it. So that's really what we're trying to get you to think about. How do I narrow my focus and have a high impact and effective impact? Now, here are the 3 strategies. These are pretty basic strategies, but they can be revolutionary. Number 1, if you're planning your week as an attorney, plan the appointments with your most important clients first, and that's your kids. So when you plan your week, you don't squeeze the kids in, you plan the kids first. So if you're planning out your week, you're planning out your month, you've got to put in appointments and protected time for the children first. So whether that's dinner, time taking them to school, time in the afternoon, weekends, whatever you're trying to do as a practitioner, most lawyers do it backwards. Most lawyers plan out their week, they plan out their calendar, then they try and jam the kids in. And so the kids show up like an inconvenience, and you're trying to squeeze them in. So I'm going to recommend that you actually flip it. You plan around the family first, then around the practice. Contrary to how a lot of lawyers think about this, contrary to how a lot of people approach it. But number 1 for me is plan for the family first, and literally put it into your calendar, plan it whatever way you need to protect that time. And you won't be perfect always, but you'll start to be a lot better at thinking through what you can do in a week if you've committed time with your kids and your family. Strategy 2 is delegate anything and everything except parenting and practicing. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to delegate everything except what you're genius at. So as a lawyer, you want to think about, what do you get paid the most for? You don't get paid for running to the store. You don't get paid for ordering copies. You don't get, ordering office supplies. You don't get paid for making copies. You don't get paid for scanning stuff. You don't get paid for accounting. You don't get paid for a lot of administrative stuff. And so you want to think about, what am I doing during my day that's collectible, billable, and high impact, and really get absolutely crystal clear that anything that's not that needs to be delegated. So my rule of thumb is basically, if you can delegate something for, let's say, 25% of your billable hour, you should do it. So if your billable hour is $400 an hour, if you can delegate it for something for $100 an hour or under, you should do it. You should just delegate it. It shouldn't be a big deal. So my rule of thumb, and I have to tell you, it's always been $100 for me. Anything that I can hire somebody to do for $100 an hour or under, I do. I just do it, because I found that as a lawyer, with my effective billable rate, I always could make up the time somewhere. And so when you think about it, you've got to figure out, in my practice, what am I doing that's not high impact and effective? Same thing with parenting. One of the big mistakes I think that we make as parents is we confuse chores with quality time with our kids. And so I usually say, when you, as a parent, you want to start thinking, especially if you're a practitioner, and this applies to moms and dads, should you be making dinner or cleaning the house while your nanny's sitting there playing with your kids? I think I've had so many lawyers tell me they're frustrated because they're like, well, my nanny is spending more time with my kids than I am because I'm doing the chores. And so I usually say, you've got it backwards. They should be doing the chores, like cleaning the toilets, doing the laundry, running the errands. You should be playing with the kids. And so first and foremost, you got to get clear what you're doing with the children as quality parenting. Is taking the kids to Walmart or Home Depot great? parenting experience? Usually not. It's horrible, right? It's horrible. And then running to the grocery store, the dry cleaner, mowing the lawn, you are, quite frankly, the most expensive domestic assistant or house cleaner ever. So when I look at this, I usually recommend that you go ahead and delegate everything that you possibly can. So I usually recommend hiring what's called a domestic assistant. Now, this is something I've done in my life for 20 years. I have two of them in my life. Both are part-time. One works 25 hours a week. The other works about 20 hours a week. And what I do is I delegate everything to them that is domestic that I don't want to do that doesn't make me money. So everything from doing laundry, cleaning the house, making some of the meals, going shopping, scheduling vet appointments for the dogs, dealing with the handyman, or in my case, handy woman. Anything that requires house maintenance is their responsibility. They have the authority to, quite frankly, spend up to $500 on any repair without asking me. The intention behind that is that I want them to run the domestic side of the house. So when I come home, I can spend time with my kids and I can spend time with my wife. I don't spend time managing some of the domestic chores that are around. And this includes everything, from lawn care, pool care, heating, pet appointments, vet, anything that you can delegate, scheduling vehicles, getting fixed, whatever it may be. You want to have this person help you do that so that you're delegating all of that in, well in advance. So I think a lot of us, what happens is over time, we just get used to doing those things because we were doing those things. But as our practice grows and our skills become more valuable, it makes no sense for us to be doing these things financially. Think of it this way. If you had the world's greatest brain surgeon and you were a hospital administrator and you had the world's greatest brain surgeon, what would you have that brain surgeon doing? Would you have them processing paperwork? Would you have them running patients around in wheelchairs? What would you have them doing? Well, if you were smart, you're having them do either surgery on brains or two, talking to other doctors about brain surgery so that you're getting patients referred into the hospital. So think of yourself in the same way. If you're a high impact lawyer, would like to be a high impact lawyer, you're either practicing or spending quality time with your kids. And so anything that you can delegate here is critical. Now, I understand for a lot of us, my father-in-law, who obviously I've been married for 30 years, my father-in-law still doesn't understand why I don't mow the lawn, fix the air conditioner, change the oil in my vehicle. He thinks, or fix sprinklers or doing anything like that. It doesn't make sense to him because that's what he does. He thinks that's what you should do. And we've, had conversations where it doesn't make any sense financially for me to do that. It makes no sense whatsoever. So you'll have people in your life that will say, well, that's very bougie for you to do that. Or why are you doing that? Or why is that? And you'll have some people that disagree with you, but it's your call. It's your life. You live it, and you have to make these challenges and you have to make these decisions. And you can't like the gravitational pull of how somebody else believes and thinks that what you should be doing hold you back. You should go for it. And so as you think about this, I want you to delegate as much as you possibly can. Here's strategy 3. And this is a very basic strategy, but one that for some reason, when I talk about it, that lawyers kind of freak out about it. I strongly recommend that you have a proactive working plan as a parent. And what do I mean by that? What's a proactive working plan as a parent look like? For me, I think you should plan, for those of you that are Atticus clients, I think you should plan out your time template. I think you should have a weekly family meeting. For me, I've had a weekly family meeting with my children, even when they're in college. We did it via Zoom, so that we could check in and connect on certain things that were important to us as a family. I think you should try and have a committed family activity night or day if you can do it. I think dinner, and this is one of the things that has worked very well for our family, is that we talk at dinner either about a win or something we're grateful for that day. And it's been a tradition that we've done since the kids are very, very little, because if you talk to a teenager about how was your day, they're going to say, it was okay. How you feeling? Fine. What happened? Nothing. But if they know that they're coming home to dinner and they'll talk about 3 things that they're grateful for, or 5 things that happened that day that were great things that happened that day, it's amazing what happens over dinner. They may come in surly, grumpy, terrible. But if they sit down and you say, okay, give me one great thing that happened today, at least one great thing, and once they get going, they get rolling. Now, why is this important? Because if you're trying to teach your children to have a positive attitude, you're trying to teach your kids to have a growth mindset, if you're trying to teach your kids that a family is a great thing, the last thing you want to do is have them come home to a surly father who's grumpy because he's been dealing with bad clients and bad staff all day. So it pushes the burden on you first and foremost to be a good leader in your family and provide a positive tone, no matter how crappy your day was. And no one really cares at your family how crappy your day was. I promise. I've tested this theory. No one really cares, but they care that they had a great day, and they care that you care about them having a great day. So it's an important approach to think about. There's a phenomenal study, and I'll try and do a short version of it. There's a phenomenal study that talks about billionaires and millionaires. And it was an incredible book, probably 20 years old, about billionaires. And the study was fascinating because the author said the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire was family dinner. And it boiled down to the following thing, that the family dinner was a linchpin of communication between the parents and the children. And if the father or mother came home and complained about how horrible it was to own a business, the kids didn't want to have anything to do with the business. However, if the father and the mother came home and said, owning a business is fantastic, one day this will all be yours, then it had a huge impact about how the kids thought about the business. So what's my point? Most of the billionaires were raised by millionaire fathers who told them one day this will be yours, and every night at dinner talking about all the great things about owning a business. My father was an FBI agent, and every day that he came home, he complained about being an FBI agent and wearing a gun and being paid nothing to be potentially shot or killed. And he was a fantastic FBI agent. He was a SWAT team commander. When I graduated law school, the FBI tried to recruit me, and I was like, oh, good Lord, no, that's the last thing I want to do. And my father was heartbroken because he spent 30 years as an FBI agent and couldn't understand why. And I said, because every night for 30 years, you came home and told me how horrible it was. Do you think for one moment I want to be an FBI agent? Are you kidding me? I heard about every complaint you ever had. What's my point to you? If you want to raise kids that are positive and excited about life, dinner is critically important for you to set the tone. My next thing is, I would encourage you to take the kids away for at least one weekend per quarter. It doesn't have to be Disney World, doesn't have to be anything amazing, but go do something fun that's centric around the children. And then any project that the kids do, I would jump into. Anything the kids want to do, jump into. And for me, I've learned a lot about airplanes and trains and architecture from my son. And I am a wicked video gamer on a couple video games because of my daughter. And so you have to think about what they're interested in and jump into their interests. Don't always drag them into yours. Go with them, go with the current. It's a lot of fun. And then here's my family meeting agenda. This is an agenda that I've shared over the years with a lot of my friends and clients because everyone's fascinated. Like, okay, you have a family meeting? I said, yeah, I do. And I said, the reason I do that is it helps me and my kids and my wife be consistent in our communication. A meeting is not designed to be a boring thing. A meeting is designed to make sure everyone's communicating the same vision, getting aligned on the same vision, and moving forward on the same vision. My daughter, when she was 6, declared that we need to have a family meeting because she wanted a kitten. So I've been through all kinds of family meetings over different topics and different issues, but this is mine. So I'll give you a real quick version or quick run through of this. If you have any questions, let me know. But number one is I always start the the family meeting with a simple win. And then I check and see if we did any follow-up items from the week before, because we always track who's going to do what. Then we check in on our family goals, and our family goals are usually something we create together. It might be trips, it might be activities. And then we talk about maybe a year out. What are some of the plans and activities that we have? And then I look at the week ahead. Do we have any scheduling conflicts? Now, if you get one kid in soccer and another kid doing this, you're going to have scheduling conflicts. If you've got both of you and your spouse are working, you're going to have scheduling conflicts. If you've got adult parents that you're taking care of, you're going to have scheduling conflicts. If you're practicing law, raising kids, and dealing with parents, you're going to have scheduling conflicts. It's far better to talk it through on a Sunday or a Saturday than it is when the scheduling conflicts are happening, because they're incredibly stressful. And so for me, I want to know anything the kids need, treats, costumes, anything, projects. We need poster board. What do we need? I want to have that all talked through in advance. And then I'll check in with the kids. My son is active, my daughter's active. So we check in on how workout routines are going, what's going on. And then we talk to them about, what do we need to do to support them on getting to bed? How are they doing on schoolwork, any chore or house issues? We typically give the kids their chores on Friday because my son never likes being surprised on his chores. He likes to plan them out. And then one of the secrets that I've developed, and I also do this for myself in my practice, is what I call the 15-minute sprint. If you tell a kid they've got to clean the room, that looks like a mountain. And they're going to say, oh, good Lord, no, I don't have to clean my room. And you're going to be battling for hours with them on cleaning the room. Instead, you say, look, all you got to do for the next 15 minutes, as quick and fast as you can, is clean your room. Just 15 minutes. And we're going to play loud music, and we'll see how quick we can do it. And that's all you got to do is 15 minutes. And then when they're done doing that 15 minutes, you just praise them for what an amazing job. That's incredible. I can't believe how much work you got done in 15 minutes. That's fantastic. My experience is my son will do 4 to 5 15-minute sprints in cleaning his room and other things. And so, a 15-minute sprint times 4 is a lot of work. So that's typically a real quick review of a family rolling agenda, a couple of tips, a couple of things. And my suggestion is to give it a shot, see if it works for you. Now, with that being said, I'm going to bring us to a close just to lay down a couple of concepts. Number one is that when you're looking to grow your practice, you've got your legal skills and you've got your business skills. Funny enough, I think the parenting comes as a business skill because it's about communication, delegation, casting vision, running your meetings. Now, it may look like a family unit, but some of those skills are applicable. And so what I would recommend to lawyers is you're thinking about this, you want to grow your legal skills, yes, but you also want to really, the multiplier is going to be the business skills. And that's really what we're after at the end of the day. And I don't think I'm going to talk about much more today. I think I'm just going to say at this point in time, just remember as you look to implement things, one of the most important things is to reduce the amount of stuff that you've committed to, what your calendar looks like, and make some space. And one of the strategies that I talked to you about creating space today was creating space around making your family first. So if you look at your calendar, you're trying to plan out your calendar, you're trying to think it through, push all the little jelly beans out of the way to put the big jelly beans in, which are your kids. Now with that, I'm going to pull us to a close for today. Thank you for attending. If you've got any questions, I'll be hanging out for a few minutes to answer any questions that you may have afterwards. And with that, thank you.